So, I heard you want to code.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 9 of our Roblox Studio scripting tutorials. In this episode, I am going to cover the differences between a server script, a local script, and a module script. So what you have here, when it's just script, this is a server script. And then, if you were to add a local script, that's obviously a local script. And a module script is this purple one. And now, I'm going to explain the difference between the three. Basically, if you were to think of a server script, the way you should hopefully understand it is that the server is like the main computer running the game. So when a server script runs, it affects everyone that is playing. For instance, if I were to give a player 100 coins using a server script, everyone will see that that player now has 100 coins because the server controls the whole game. So you can think of this as a script that will affect every player in your game. And it's useful for things like I said, giving players coins, spawning enemies in that you want every player to be able to interact with, choosing maps, which we'll get into shortly here, and things like saving player data. Another thing in our local scripts is that this is basically like the player's computer. So this is going to run on the player's computer rather than on the computer that runs the whole game. So if I were to do something like, let's say we wanted there to be some particle effects that only one player can see, and that's usually how you would do it, because making everybody feel the same particle effects as one player is going to end up getting laggy at times when you've got everyone, seeing different effects, but it's all at the same time. So a local script can be useful for things like, let's say, if I were to make a shift to sprint type script, that would be in a local script. And the input from my keyboard is detected by a local script, because the server script can't see your keyboard. But since the local script is running on my personal computer, that means that it can see my keyboard. And that is where I would use my local script. Of course, there's many other uses for both of these, but that is the basic idea of the difference between a script and a local script. The script will run on the entire server, which means everybody in the game will feel and see and be able to interact with whatever you make using this server script. And then a local script, let's say I were to use a local script to spawn in a map. Well, that would make it so that the player of which this local script is inside of would be the only one that can see that map, because it ran on the player's computer rather than the server computer. Okay? So now we're going to get into module scripts, and basically what this is, it's like, you can think of it as reusable code. So if I had something where, let's make a module just for an example. We'll just call it example. And let's say we wanted let's think. So if we were trying to add coins to our player, what I would do, just as an example, is function module.addCoins or something similar, and player and the amount of coins you want to give. And then you would run your code in here to, add coins to your player's stats or whatever. And then I would call this module script with a server script. But the difference between a module script is that it can run either on the server or the client. It depends which type of script requires it. So if I required it with a server script, the module script will then run on the server's computer. If I required it through a local script, then it would be running on the player's computer. So, but the main idea of module scripts is that you can make reusable functions that you can use throughout any script in your game. You don't have to be within the same script to run this code here. Like, I could run it from this local script. I could run it from this server script. And it would all be stored inside of this module script. So it's basically like functions that you can use over and over again from outside of the script. Okay? That's pretty much the simplest terms I can explain it as. It's like, instead of rewriting the same code over and over, we store it in a module script and reuse it anywhere. And so if I were to put these in real world terms, let's say the server script would be the kitchen making the food for everyone. And this is if we're thinking of Roblox like a restaurant. So the server script would be the kitchen making the food for all of the customers on the game, which is basically the customers would be the players in your game. And then the local script would be what's going on at the customer's table, at their personal table, where only the customer sees their plate. Okay? Now, the module script is like the recipe book that the chefs will use in order to properly run code throughout, or I guess properly make things happen, make food happen, make the proper meals, whatever people are requesting. Okay? So that is the difference between a script, a local script, and a module script. And if you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. This has been kind of a quick tutorial, but it's also a pretty crucial one to understand when you're going throughout your game and coding. Because if I wanted to add coins to a player and I ran it through a local script, well, now when the player leaves, if I had some kind of data storing going on, it's not going to recognize that the player actually gained coins because it ran only on the player's computer. But if I ran it in a server script and I added coins to that player, then when he leaves, the data store will be able to read, hey, this player actually had coins. Let's save that for him, And that is basically all I've got on the 3 different types of scripts here. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to leave a comment if you need help, and yeah, peace out.